all. Thank you so much for being here today. We have Philippa James hosting this webinar with us today, and here she is. So we're going to get started. So thank you everyone for joining us today. Um, Today's webinar explores how dyslexic individuals can use AI and tools like ChatGPT and Otter AI to support communication, organization, reading, writing, and productivity in both personal and professional lives. Um, if you might be aware of this conversation because it's something that comes up really often in our support groups. So we're delighted to have Philippa here, who is our former chair, as you all probably are aware of. Um, Whoops, let me make sure I don't have too much feedback. So we're delighted to have Philippa here. Is that a bit better, Philippa? Yeah, great. To share some practical examples of how AI can help and reduce barriers and also build confidence in your professional and personal lives. So I'm going to let Philippa take it from here. I will turn my camera off and mute myself, make sure there's no feedback. And I will be monitoring the chat box throughout for any questions that come up. I'm going to make the chat available for everyone. So if you have any questions, feel free to put it in there. You can make it public or private, and the recording of this webinar will be available later this afternoon. So thank you all for joining, and Philippa, I'll let you take it from here.
Thank you so much, Grace. I'm just going to get my screen up. So you tell me, because I've got lots of different screens here, what you can see, because I can't see what you can see. So are you seeing one slide at the moment?
Yes, but we don't, it's just a white slide, I believe.
Oh dear. Okay. I always love it when there's tech issues. Okay.
Maybe that's better. Yeah, and zoom in.
So you can see this here.
Yes, I can see
Okay.
that. But I think when you share it, it just goes white.
Yeah, when I press play. So as long as you can see it on that side, I'm just going to leave it for now rather than.
Perfect. And we can
Yeah.
send it after, and everyone will get copies after. So,
Absolutely, yeah, and it'll be on the website. So no problem. Well, thank you so much for having me. So it's good to be back. I don't get to see you all as often now. Um, so my name's Philippa. I chaired the Dyslexia Association for 7 years. I also run a digital marketing agency and has have done for 11 years. I'm also dyslexic myself, so I understand the struggles, and that's what got me into volunteering originally for the organization. So, it also, when I volunteered for the Dyslexia Association of London, I did get a lot out of it, both in connections and meeting great people. So, if it's something you're considering, I'd recommend talk to Grace about that. I hadn't planned to say that, but it's true. I got an awful lot out of working with this organization, and we're small. So, today I'm going to talk through AI. Now, I'm not some kind of super AI expert. The level I'm going to talk about is some of the things you can do that I've found really useful as someone who's dyslexic, both in my personal life and as a business owner. And I'm just going to talk you through some of the things there. So, some of the things you may already know, some of the things you might not know any of it. So I just don't know what level everybody's at. So I've kind of done a mixture of things here, and there's also you can do much more advanced things as well that we'll talk about today. So let's get going. So obviously AI is coming into our lives, and I know that there's quite a few people that are hesitant to jump on board with it. They're worried about safety, and I think all of those things are valid. But in my personal opinion, I do feel like if you don't if you don't go into it, it's going to be a challenge. Like it's very much like when computers first came about. If we don't understand it, at least whether or not we use it, then I think we're going to start to struggle in both in our personal lives, but also especially in business. So if we move here, so um, what I do think is, okay, so in all honesty, AI isn't the answer to being dyslexic, but it does really help support in areas where we may struggle. So with dyslexia, I always talk about, those of you that know me, I always talk about the peaks and troughs graph. So imagine you've got a graph and we've got different skill sets, and everybody's like this anyway, whether you're neurotypical, neurodiverse, where you'll be good at some things and then not so good at others. And what often happens with people who are dyslexic is that you will be really good at some. Some people don't even know how good they are at some things because they just assume that everyone can do that. And then you'll be really not so good at some things that, and that could be, for example, writing, or it could be spelling, or they're the obviously the most typical traits associated with dyslexia. But there's also many, many more other things that you can struggle with. Myself, I've struggled with interpreting things linearly. So what I've always struggled with is kind of report writing, because in my job, I'm really good at the analysis. I can tell you left, right, and center what's going on with campaigns and businesses. But when it comes down to writing in a linear way and giving that to a client, that's something I've always struggled with. I have to take a long time over it. Also, for me, AI is amazing because what I can do is I can talk all my findings into it and it will put it in a linear way for me. So dyslexia is not about intelligence, as we know. It does shift the playing field with AI, because with AI, what my findings are is that you need to be you need to be clever with your thinking, and you need to be more strategic with your thinking. And many people who are dyslexic are really good with ideas, really good with kind of working things out and puzzles in all different forms. Some people are good with visual puzzles, like they might be um, car designers or lift engineers, and they can kind of 3D pictures in their head. And some people are better with kind of numerical puzzles, but everyone has different strengths. And AI is good when you know what prompts to put in. And you don't have to type the prompts in, because you can verbally say the prompts as well. So whatever you find easier. It's also free to start, so you've got lots of different types of platforms, which we're just going to go through, and you can use the free version. So you've got Claude. So all of these different ones are changing very, very rapidly. Even I'm struggling to keep up with it. So Claude is we've written here, so it's good for long documents, it's good for privacy focused work. So if you're worried about, not letting anybody else see your work, I mean, they all have privacy settings, which I'll talk about later, but Claude is pretty good on that. It asks you permission for everything. Um, it I used to use ChatGPT when it first came out, and it was better than Claude, but now Claude I'm finding is better than ChatGPT. Um, Also, you've got Gemini, which was really good at imagery, but now ChatGPT is getting good at imagery. So it's really worth trying all three out, even if you have something to do, you like a project or something. If you put the same prompt in all of them, you can see which one works better for you, because they're just changing all the time. Copilot is very much about what people in businesses that have Microsoft accounts use. So in my business, we actually use Google Workspace because we are a marketing agency, so we're a little bit more creative. And that works for us, the way that we manage all our filings and everything. But a lot of big businesses will use Microsoft, and so they'll have Copilot, and a lot of companies won't let their employees use anything other than the approved AIs as well. So this would be, for example, Copilot. There's Meta AI, which can support with Instagram and WhatsApp. Now, to be honest, I don't have loads of experience with this yet. It's something we're experimenting with at the moment. And then you've got Perplexity, which is good for checking facts. So when your AI tells you something, if you want to check it, you can check with this AI on whether it's actually valid or not. Quite often they'll give you the sources if you ask them questions, and you can ask for the source. But if you want to do extra checking, you can use Perplexity. Um, so what I'm going to do for the rest of this is give you some examples of how I use AI, because I feel like stories and examples are a little bit more useful. So firstly, so I our house insurance was up. We realized that our house insurance had run out, and obviously it's one of those things that quite often you can put off because there's lots of documentation. It's a bit overwhelming. You don't really know where to start. Um, Often you'll end up just renewing the same one each year. So my partner had got our house insurance and previously. And so what I decided is I'd use ChatGPT. So I got the old insurance papers, and I'd met someone at one of my networkings who did insurance, and he sent me through potential quote for new insurance, house insurance. There is a story here. So I used ChatGPT, and what I did was I used the paid for version, and I uploaded my old insurance quote from previous years and the new one to try and ascertain what the difference was between the two, because it was so, these are pages and pages of documents. So it kind of told me, oh, this is the difference, that's the difference. So it enabled me to make a decision on how I wanted to move forward with getting house insurance. So anyway, I decided that new house insurance, it was more expensive, but actually some of the things that should have been covered weren't being covered in the old insurance, which I never would have probably realized before because I would have just paid it and renewed it. So I got the new house insurance. A week later, we had a leak. Had we been on the old house insurance, we would not have been covered and on that particular leak. But also, had we had gone with many other of the insurers, it actually has a 2 week clause from when you sign up. So because this insurer insured you from day one, and this was all coming out of ChatGPT, and what I did was I put them in to it. I uploaded them and then I asked it questions, and you can ask them verbally. So I'd say like, oh, what is covered in this, or anything that I thought of, or what do I need to, or you can even say, what should I be looking at in my insurance? And then it comes up with some questions, and you just ask it the questions. Does this cover this? Does this cover that? So you're almost having a conversation with it. But what it does is it enables you to make better decisions. And these are sort of things, as someone who's dyslexic, someone who's super busy all the time, I would have probably gone with the easy option, and we would not have been covered. And it did have a massive effect on our home. It really completely, it was like a tropical rainforest in our kitchen. So I'm so relieved because obviously the insurance covered that, and our kitchen was fixed within a few months. So these are the ways in real life that AI has massively helped me. Another thing that people don't talk about with dyslexia very often is we don't talk about some of the struggles with other things in our lives, like personally, like what's for dinner and cooking. And sometimes it can be really overwhelming, um, even looking after yourself, or what can I do? Or I think everyone finds that hard, like thinking every day, what do I want for dinner? But so one of the things I find really useful is often I will plan 3 meals, or have an idea of the 3 meals for the week. And then at the end of those 3 days, I'll have bits left over, and I'll just take a picture of the fridge. This isn't my fridge, it's a free stock photography. I don't know what language it's in, but this isn't my fridge. Um, and then I'll go, okay, what can I make with this? And then it will give me ideas for recipes. Now, I don't always have to follow them, but it gives me some kind of idea of what I can make for dinner. And it just takes that stress out. And it means we're using up things in the fridge and we're not having to buy as much. So I find it really useful for things like this as well. You can dictate it as well. You can take a picture and dictate what's in your cupboard in terms of in the pantry. You can even do things like set up a folder and have your staples that are in your pantry. You can put it into, say, ChatGPT. You can set up a folder and you can say source, and then you can say what's in your pantry, and then every time you ask it questions about what to cook, you can then it will know what you've got in your pantry, like salt, pepper, spices, that sort of thing. So there's ways of doing that as well. So it's really useful for that. So you can also write emails with it. So this is a big one for those of you who are working in office-based things. I mean, even non-office based now, we all really need to write emails. As much as possible in my company, I try and use other ways of communicating with the team, but we still need to write an email. So one of the best things to do is, rather than say, I need to email this person about this, is to really give some context. And I think people with dyslexia are quite often very good at this. So you're almost talking around it. You're saying, like, this example is, I'm a project manager, client Sarah booked Thursday, but we have a deadline clash. She can be difficult. So reschedule warmly and suggest two alternative times. Now you can dictate that into it, and It'll write your email, and then you can ask it to read your email back, for example. Um, or you can just trust it, or you can read it back yourself, and then you can paste it in. So there's several ways of doing this. For example, you can connect Claude with your email if you wanted to. Um, and that way you could actually ask it to write the email and draft it for you, and then you could read through and send it like an assistant. So it's quite incredible what it can do now. With ChatGPT, I often just will give it some context and then I'll copy and paste it in. But with Claude, you can get it to write it. I use an EA assistant as well, which is very similar to that, with where they will draft my emails for me, which really helps. It helps with getting through things, but you do need to check it because sometimes they're really off and they might try and schedule in things and you're busy. So I connect my Google Calendar with it, and I connect my email with it, and then between it, it can work out when I'm free and my diary is free. So email's massively amazing for this. Um, let's see, what's the next slide that I can talk about? Oh yeah, so reports, documents, reading aloud. So you can sometimes we get documents. I get it from my clients in very specific industries, and it's so many pages long. So I can use ChatGPT to summarize those. And again, you could use it to summarize things like insurance or any documents you get through the post. You can take pictures of it on your phone, and then you can upload it like that, or if it's a PDF, you can upload it like that, and then you can ask it to summarize. You can ask it to summarize in plain English. You can ask it to summarize for a 10-year-old. Um, I was doing a lot more, getting a lot more savvy with finance and things like that last year, and there was a lot of things about all the SIPs and all these sort of finance terms that I didn't really understand. So I used it to really get to the bottom of it, because I was helping a friend out and their mum wanted to take some money out of their pension, and actually managed to work it out with ChatGPT exactly what we could do and what the best options were by just talking to it and understanding it. And I asked it to talk to me like I was 10 years old. So it was giving me very basic examples, but it enabled me to understand that world that I'm not as familiar with. So really, really useful for reports. And great thing to do is also we run reports for our clients, and say we wanted to check it, we make sure that it's the security's on. We might put a report up for a client where we've written up what we think they should do next, etc. And I'll say, are there any typos in this? Because obviously, there might be. And also, is there anything I should be aware of, or any duplicates? And so it will pick up all of those little things that will come back to me. Sometimes it comes back with some things that are irrelevant. It just does. But often it picks up some of the typos and things like that. And it can rewrite things for you without the typos, and you can copy paste it in. So it makes that whole process so much easier. Whereas before, sometimes we'd have two people proofreading, things like, have I put the right date on? Have I put the right month on? All of those things can be, you can build a project just by putting a folder in, and then you can have it remember that. So it will remember what you like, and then you just upload the document, and it will remember that you like it, this, that, and the other. So you can almost train it. That's what you're doing. And we'll talk about training some things in a bit as well. So I'm whizzing through. Um, so dyslexia, I started touching on this. We're good at big picture thinking. So sometimes some of the struggles is to get it down, all that big picture thinking. So we think, oh, this will be great, for our organization. We could do this, this, this. So it's all the ideas, but what it does is it gets them down. You can talk it into the AI, and it can summarize it, and it can even take it a step further if it understands who's in your company or who can do what. Or um, another area that we're good at, lateral connections. So seeing the links that others miss. So, and it leads to that connecting, that kind of, that's why we're good at problem solving and puzzles. And it can lead to creative prompts that unlock different results. So in terms of how things fit together, I feel like sometimes there were ideas that people haven't been able to express, and AI can help you do that by you can write, it helps you with the writing elements of it, but also it helps you with kind of putting your ideas into something that's more coherent for other people. Because sometimes in our heads we know exactly what we're talking about, but it's really frustrating when you feel misunderstood, when you know you think this is a great idea, but you can't express it. So you can ramble on at the AI and it can make it more coherent. And then sometimes you'll get something and you'll think it needs a few iterations. You'll get it back, you'll read it through, and then you have to say, actually, I like that, I don't like that. That's not what I meant. So it might need, but at the end of it, you'll get it written how you wanted it. You can send it to your boss or whoever in the company. So descriptive language. Occasionally, I can't think of words for things, and this is really great because it will give alternative words, a bit like a thesaurus, and so you're not repeating the same word over and over again. So, um, moving on. Grace, how are we doing? Are we all right?
Yes. Just have a couple questions. Um, well, just actually mainly one question, if you have a little break here.
Yeah.
How do we use the privacy work with AI? Please, scared of putting in personal documents, information, etc. I think this is a question we're all curious about and can be hard to navigate.
Yeah, so I'll just jump to that slide actually. So,
Oh, perfect.
yeah, the most important thing is to check your settings. Look, we nothing's foolproof, It's the same as having the Alexa. Oh, I hope none of you have got one because sometimes they turn on when someone says their name. But it's the same as having that, really. It's never foolproof, and you have to make sure that all your security settings are set up correctly. So just make sure you go into the settings, make sure that certain data controls are turned off. Like I said with Claude, I do connect it to some of our data. It's anonymous data. Um, and every time I've got it set, so every time it wants to connect, I allow it. So I'm then in full control of what it connects to and when, and then I can stop it. Um, but that's slightly different. So you've got a general, if you're using, say, ChatGPT constantly, you just make sure your security settings are fine. If you're using Claude and you're connecting it to your email, then you want to make sure that obviously it's high risk and it is high risk, but it's really useful. So you have to generally allow it. I have certain times in the day where I allow it, and I'm always here in front of the computer. It probably sounds silly to some people, but it means that I'm there and I'm in charge of the security risk if there's anything going on. But there's so much information. I mean, one thing I wouldn't do, one of the things, don't put pictures of your hands up, things like that. You've got people can take your fingerprints, but you shouldn't do that on social media anyway. So there's loads of stuff that crosses over really into how safe it is on social media. Look, I've done this webinar, people got my face and my voice now. We can't hide forever. So it's a very, very difficult conversation, and especially with all the cybersecurity stuff going on. I mean, I know I subscribe now to one of those finance companies that blocks all your finances. So if you want any kind of credit or anything like that, you have to unlock it whilst you apply for it. So no one can take my identity. And I pay monthly for that now just because we're in that world, unfortunately. So I'm going off on a tangent because I'm dyslexic. So let's go back to this. Golden rule. If you wouldn't post it publicly, don't paste it into AI without checking it first. For example, don't put your address in, don't put your bank details in, don't put your date of birth in, um, don't put your mobile number in. You may or may not want to put your image in. That's up to you. And with photos, like it says, you actually have metadata in photos. So if you upload photos, it will know where you are potentially, unless you change the metadata, which you can in a setting of a photo. It's a bit fiddly, but it depends how far you want to take it. So I think you can use it if you do everything anonymously, very safely, but otherwise just be careful with what you upload. I hope that answers the question. Are there any more questions around that, Grace?
No, I think that answered it perfectly. And we just have a comment I'll add from Laura, who just shared with everyone. Um, But my team leader encouraged me to use Microsoft Pilot and encourage in NHS, we just can't put patient identifiable viable information, but we can put in text that doesn't contain that. I always double check by reading through to make sure it's kept the meaning and gets it right. So really just use it to get it to make things more succinct by giving direct instructions. And we did have actually another question come through from Rondeep. Do you use an enterprise version for privacy?
Yes, thank you. That's a good point. So, when you're working on AI, so what I do, I pay for all the AI versions because that gives you the full security settings on it. So, with the free AI, it's not, you haven't got that level of control. So, it's a good prompt from Randy there on that. Thank you very much. Yeah, so I mean, it is a cost. For me, it's actually it now is integrated into my life. So it might be worth playing with them, finding out what ones you'll like. But it saves me so much time both in my personal life with what we're going to have for dinner. I mean, probably if you think about it, these things are around between, say, 18, £25 a month. And the amount I probably save on shopping from like organizing myself properly, it really it really helps with that because I'm not rebuying food. So I'm sure I save that on the shortcuts. And plus, obviously, it would have cost me a fortune to redo my kitchen. So you've got to think of it in it is another subscription cost, and obviously only do it if you afford it. You can afford it. But once you've tested a few things on the in the free version, it is going to help you in your life in general. And yes, thank you to the person before who mentioned how they use it. That's really useful as well to know from a co-pilot point of view, because that's probably my least experience because I don't use co-pilot, but I know about it a bit. Yeah.
And one more question before we move on from Barbara was just what was the online protection that you had the subscription for, if anyone is interested for privacy?
Oh, so that's personally. So it's Experian. I was,
Experience.
yeah, yeah. So
Okay,
that's
cool.
personally, I have that. I mean, also you should have um, on your computers now any kind of security. So, like the McAfee's and things like that. You need to make sure that you have some kind of security on your computer, whether it's a work computer or not. And there's different ones for Macs and PCs. But definitely nowadays you can't. I mean, my friend's mum, she's just been hacked and everything. I mean, she's had them calling her. She's getting it all back, but she's had to cancel every single card she has. She's got nothing now while they sort it all out. So identity fraud is big, but that's not from AI. So there's so many ways they can get you now. It can be just an online form or you clicking a link. So be vigilant, everyone. So I know we're worried about AI, but there's loads of other ways they can get you. AI is probably the least way. You're going into a big database. Um, is that good? Shall I move on with the last few?
Yes, just one more
No,
question
no, that's fine.
for
We can carry on
clarifying
with questions.
information.
Yeah.
Um, so I've moved from ChatGPT to Claude. I understand preferences and training, etc. But how do I copy the history over of projects, etc.? So yeah, if you're changing platforms.
I mean, look, I don't know if there's a quick way of doing that. If there's any kind of apps you can use, I don't know. I mean, for me, often what I'll do is I'll just move the source it over that I was using, and then you can copy and paste the last few um chats you had, or put them into a source. So you could put your chat into a source, for example, like download it as Microsoft Word or something. And then you could upload that into Claude as one of the sources. By source, what I mean is, say you're working on a project, you can have a folder and it can have references. So you might have domain references for that client or the project. Say you're doing a gardening project or something, it would have, oh, it has to be done by this time, it has to be have this, has to have this. So all the main information would be in the source. And then every time you go into a chat, it's referencing those sources. You can add other files into that chat if you say, oh, does this design look nice or something? But anything that's going to be needed across all of your chats, you'd put into the source. So one of the ways you could do it is perhaps to download. your chats as say a Word or PDF file, and then you could put it into Claude as almost like a source file, so it can use you can see what you've done previously. I don't know if that's helped. To be honest, I've never done it before. It was just a suggestion, but I imagine there will be something out there soon if there isn't already that will help you move things from one to another in a more less admin type way. But it's not something I've done before, I'm afraid. Thank you.
Okay, great. Thank you so much.
Okay. Um, Okay, so one of the other ways to use AI is if you have scenarios where um, you have to, well, difficult communications basically. So both in personally and in business, there can be heated emails that come through. I find this really helps me emotionally actually because I can kind of detach a little bit from it. If I feel something's personal, I can look at it and go, okay, this is business, it's not personal. And then even if I write a response that's a little bit emotional, it does definitely help to take that out. Some people really disagree with it because they think it does take the emotions out of it. But I think in certain scenarios, it's absolutely brilliant. And even with friendships, when you're worried about someone and perhaps you don't know what to say, you can also use this as well. I will say, so within our business, I am the chief marketing officer for a dating app. This is a plug, but I hadn't planned to do this. For a dating app, it's aimed at 20 to 35-year-olds. It's called Fake Dating. And the reason I'm saying this is because one of the biggest issues in dating was like people were finding it hard for that initial conversation, that starting. Often people with dyslexia, they have amazing brains, but it's almost like a kind of starting a project or starting something can sometimes be a bit of a barrier. AI is amazing for that. So in dating app, it would be you start having a conversation and it can suggest things that you can talk about. And then it learns from what you say, what you like, what your preferences are, both values wise and also another person, and that's why I'm involved in that project because I think it's really great. I don't necessarily like the industry as a whole. I think it's got a really bad rep now, but this is really all about connection and meeting people and helping those conversations, especially for younger people as well who out of COVID really struggle. And I think it also helps us dyslexics with sometimes where we want to communicate something and we are struggling with it. So both the dating AI app and also in general using AI for communications on what should I say back to my boss, or they've asked me for this and I'm feeling overwhelmed and I really want to do my best, but I need, and you don't want to come across as I can't cope but what you can do is you can feed all of that into the AI. The AI will say, oh, I'm really sorry to hear that. And then it will help you write an email back to your boss, for example. So, um, also you can see like redundancy, conversations, family disputes, complaints. Oh my goodness, the amount of complaints, letters I've written for parking fines, for some of them I've won, some of them I haven't, but it really, really helps with that. It helps like the law. Um, we've had refunds on flights and it just takes like that admin out of that. I mean, a lot of stuff you have to let go when you're busy like me, you're overwhelmed, there's just too much going on, you sort of think, oh, I'll just pay it or but this does mean that there's that extra level. It's like having someone there who can help you to um write those letters, complaint letters back. And also, I mean, obviously Claude, they can even find the email address for you and draft it to that level. So and they can quote the law and so anyway, it's quite useful. Um And again, like inbox dread, look, I my inbox isn't great at the moment. I go through phases with it, but there's AI at the moment. I do have a software which will sort my inbox and it will organize it and then it will just show me what I need to look through. So I'm going to run it. I don't have it running the whole time because I don't want it to have access the whole time. So that's why I'm not always on top of it, but I will run it um later today or this weekend, and then I'll be able to look through everything and make decisions on what I get rid of. But it does help that process, so it's not as overwhelming. I don't think it's so like there's the whole answer yet, but it's getting there, so it's quite impressive. Um, so we're okay for time. So building your own AI. So you've got Claude and ChatGPT, you've got custom GPTs. Just to let you know, I built this presentation on AI. So I talked into AI exactly what I wanted to talk about, some of the experiences I've had, some of the things I've used AI for, and then I asked it to build me a presentation, and then I did one iteration of this presentation, and then it came back to be like this. So I literally, it's been pretty good, really. I think it's been pretty thorough, but it is about the prompts that you put in. Um, with custom GPTs, so I'm going to give you an example that isn't very specific to my business, but I think it might give you an idea of how you could use it. So, for example, one of the things I was finding was we'd get a new client and they would, my team then, because I have a team, would then ask me loads of questions about this client. So, what they needed to do, etc. So, what I did is I built a chat GPT that's internal and we put in the statement of work for the client, what we've agreed to do with them. And what it does is it pumps out exactly a list of all the tasks that's needed, who needs to do that task, and an email to go direct to the client for my account manager, so she knows, oh, these are all the this is all the access we need for that client. This is what we need from them. These are all the tasks that need to go into the project management system. So clear. And so I built that by training it. So it's just talking. So you basically go into the the GPT section, the custom GPT section, and you can build your own one by just talking to it, giving it some examples, saying the sort of outcome you want, and then you can test it in that. And if it's not quite giving you it, you just keep talking to it for a while. I think it took me a couple of hours of backwards and forwards until I got what I wanted. But now the team just click on it, they upload the file, and then and they've got everything there. They don't have to keep asking me so many questions, and there's no personal data in that, so it's not a problem. It's just a list of tasks, and the email. It doesn't put the email addresses in. So yeah, it's really useful if you have a kind of something that you have to do regularly, and you can just teach it that you input a few things and it outputs something. There might be a sort of type of report that you have to do regularly within your job, and you can make sure it understands the template of that report and then it'll output it. You just put in some of the details and it'll output it for you. You can also make it so that you have a conversation with it if you find that easier, and and it knows that it has to verbally ask you certain questions to prompt you. And then you can answer those questions and it'll output the report or whatever piece of information you need from it. Um, there's Claude does lots of different things. Claude you can plug into so many different things. So we can plug it into data and it can analyze it for you. It can fill in forms. I mean, it's quite incredible what Claude can do. It's it's also doesn't need, for me at the moment, my experience, it doesn't need as many prompts to do the work either. So you open it up and then you can ask it to do a specific task and it will say, oh, I need to connect that. So it's more like having a conversation with it, and then it will say, I need to connect that. Here's some of the connections, and then you can connect it. But again, you got to look at what you're connecting and how long for and what settings you've got. So um yes. I've also set up something in Claude, so on a weekly basis it checks a few things for me. So I'll go in and I'll open up access to this thing, and then it will do all the checking while I'm working away. So Claude has something called co-work, which means that it can do that whilst you're doing your work, which is quite handy because it's like having an assistant. It sometimes takes quite a long time to do tasks though. And you can, even when you're on the paid version, run out of credits if you do something that's too complex. But there's different tiers you can purchase. You've got to look at what the value of having it is. Um, we're getting near the end, but I have something a little bit more fun here. So I thought this is very personal because this is my bedroom. Um, and I thought I'd share with you. So what I wanted to do was I wanted some new side tables in my bedroom. And so I put in a picture of my bed and everything in there, and then I was trying to choose what side tables. Now, if you see, this is the original AI version, so it's kind of very similar to mine. You can see that what it's done is it's put my bed frame lower, which would be great. I still like the idea of having a picture at the back there. It's also chosen some nice lamps there, and it's put these side tables in. And I am going to get these side tables. I love it. So, and it's also put a throw on. So I will go away now and I'll purchase a throw. And it's given me the link to those. They actually exist. So it's given me links to those so I can go away and buy my throw and my side tables and my lamps and maybe think about a print there, although it will be a bit hidden by the bed frame. So it also took it to another extreme. It decided to change the duvet cover, so maybe I'll also need a new duvet now and some scatter cushions. So this is a more expensive version of the room where I have to buy more, but also really cute. And I wanted to test a couple of different types of lamps. So look, one it's used that lamp and it's used that lamp there. So really, really great for home decorating even. Or see, the thing is with people with dyslexia is some of us are really, really good visually. That is our strength. And some of us are really not so good visually. I'm definitely more of a data person. So this is such an amazing tool for me because it helps me kind of well visualize things because it's actually giving me the images. And you can test loads of things. You can see things online. You can ask whether it looks right. It doesn't always work. I used ChatGPT to do this. I used that one to do that. So, we've we've talked about Claude. So, a couple of other things we haven't talked about is Otter.ai. It's really not the only one out there. This is speech to text. So it can record your calls. It was one of the first ones that came about many years ago, actually, and that's probably why I adopted it. But there are quite a few other ones out now. This one, it's like you can get it to either come in and record your call if you're on a Google Meet, or you can actually get it to record. You can just talk into it. So sometimes with AI, if I want to talk at it for a long time, in case there's any bugs, because I've done this before, where you can press a button on. I'm on a Mac, and I can press a button and either dictate into the AI or I can have a conversation with it. But quite often, I just want to get all my ideas down and I want to dictate into the air. Now, if I know I'm going to be more than a few minutes, if there's any errors, it occasionally loses it. And that's so frustrating because obviously you've sat there for a few minutes and you've been dictating into this AI. So often I'll use Otter. I will dictate everything about a project or anything like that. So to get my ideas out there, and then I'll just download the transcript and I'll put it into ChatGPT. Otter AI actually has its own AI within it, so you can ask it questions in there. But for me, I just find that it's not quite good enough for me. It might be fine for other things, but for what I want I export it. I'm sure that in the near future we won't need to do that. But for me, it's just the way that I'm happiest doing it and I get the best results, probably because I've trained my GPT as well. Um, so there is that one. I'm just looking at, there's another one as well that's I haven't tried, but it's supposed to be really good, which is called Whisper Flow. Um, the reason that one's good is because you can dictate into it and then you can say, oh, can you let Zoe know I want to meet her at 2 p.m. on Tuesday, blah, blah, blah. Oh, actually, I want to meet her at 4 p.m. on Tuesday. And what it will do is it won't write everything you've said. It will change it so that it's exactly, oh, hi, hi Zoe, I would like to meet you at 4 p.m. So it kind of, it corrects it as well for you. So as you talk, that's quite a good one that, it has been recommended to me. I just haven't tried it, but I watched a little video about it and it is quite useful. Um, the other ones are Grammarly. This is a non-negotiable for me. I've been using Grammarly for years. It helps you when you typing, it corrects all your errors. Um, it also you can write something in AI. You can, if you've got the paid version, you can paste it into the paid version and it will tell you whether it all looks like AI, and if it does and it shouldn't, you can actually get it to amend it. And also it sort of helps you amend it. Sometimes you do have to write a bit, but it does help you amend that text so it's not AI. So it's got an AI checker tool, I think it's called. Really, really useful. But generally, if I don't have Grammarly, I suddenly feel a bit lost because it's on my computer all the time and goes into all the different software, anything from Google to Microsoft, Grammarly works with. So, if you, yeah, if you need to use something like 11 Labs is great. I've used this in a project before where we needed someone to speak the names of people and sound like they're real, and that's a great tool for that. It doesn't necessarily, I mean, there's quite a few things it does, but that's the only use that I've had for it. I think they have avatars and they sound very human now. Um, and like we spoke about perplexity earlier with checking sources. How much time have we got, Grace?
We have 13 minutes and we have do have some questions. I'm saving a little bit whenever you are completed. So just let me
Okay,
know
so
whenever you're ready.
yeah, so I'm just going to do one more thing then, before
Perfect.
I have my last slide, and I don't know how I'm gonna. That's that, and let me just get this up over here. I'm thinking, can you see this now?
Yes, we can see.
Okay, so this is a bit fun. So if you, for example, are booking a holiday and you want an itinerary, it's great as well for organizing itinerary. So this is a fake itinerary. I haven't given you my Japan and Tokyo and Kyoto trip, unfortunately. But this is a fake itinerary. So you can put all your emails from the flights into it. You can copy and paste them, screenshot them however you want into the AI, and you can give it the dates of everything, anything that you quite fancy doing, and then you can ask it to write you an itinerary. So it's got all the details there. You see, it's done this really nice. You can then print this, you can ask it to be a PDF. Um, it makes suggestions for you. It tells you when you check in and check out, especially if you're on a kind of travel trip. There's little tips here to check, visit Fushimi early in the morning for fewer crowds. So it's given little tips because I may have said that I quite fancy visiting Fushimi. Um, and it will put together a whole travel itinerary for you. So, and it will also, if you wanted to put in your travel agent's details or whoever you've booked by in case there's any issues, you can do that as well. But it helps organize things. Sometimes when you go away and you've got all things all over the place in different emails and you're trying to get things together, and you could just put it all in and say, oh, I need this to be printed. I need this. It's almost like it organizes everything for you, like your own personal travel agent. Travel agents are also good because they can get you cheaper flights and things like that. I've found with some they send the most amazing itineraries like this, and then some it's not as clear, so you can upload them into AI and just make your own like this. So that was just something I wanted to show you as an example, which is quite fun. And we're back to, let's go to our final slide then. So I'm just gonna wrap up and then I'll take your final questions. So I do feel like it's moving very fast. I feel like we're moving into an age where we can really use these tools to our advantage and find, like, if we start, it's always important when you have dyslexia to really understand what your weaknesses are. And if you really understand your weaknesses, then look up, even ask the GPT, how could I use this to overcome this weakness? How can I use you, or how can I use AI? And then find a way of using AI to overcome your weaknesses, because some of your strengths are stronger than other people's. So it's once we start to use technology to help our weaknesses, we become even better in some of our strengths. So really, I'm optimistic about this, but I'm also aware that, dyslexia is dyslexia and we have good days, we have bad days, especially when I haven't had enough sleep. So, if you want to get in touch with me, feel free. I'll be honest, it might take me a little while to get back to you. I'm probably more more likely to get back to you quicker on Instagram, but I've put my details up here. I still volunteer sometimes for the Dyslexia Association, so I've got my email here. And this is the QR code for my marketing company. If you want to work with us, it's almondmarketing.co.uk, and you can reach out to me there as well. So I will connect. Feel free to connect with me. We can always have a chat, and I'm happy to answer any final questions as well.
Great. Thank you so much, Philippa. This was super helpful. And we do have a good amount of questions. So I will just
Okay, I'll try
dive
my best.
right in. I believe, yeah, I'm going to start with one from Rondeep. If anyone has any final questions, please do so now because we have a few to get through. Um, wait, okay, here we go. When you said AI, do you actually talk to it or are you typing into it? So I guess it's a good time to talk about the verbal and text features.
Um, Both. So that's good if I wasn't clear, because that's good to clarify it. So I do both. I actually prefer, so with AI, for example, ChatGPT, you can have a conversation. So you can press the microphone button and you can talk to it and it will talk back to you. I actually like to do it in a way where I use a key and I talk into the, so instead of typing in, I'm talking into it. So that's the way I use it, so that I can then kind of see what I'm saying. And also when it says the answer, it actually types it back out to me, because sometimes I need things visual. If I want it to read it to me, it could read it, I could ask it, but I also need the thing visually as well. So that's the way I use it. So I use a shortcut on my keyboard to be able to speak into it. Everyone should have access to do that. You may need to set it up. You can ask AI how you can do that. You can give it your you can give it your type of PC or Mac you're using and ask it how to create a shortcut so you can it's speech to text. So you can do speech to text. Yeah. Thank you.
Great, thank you. And let me go find the next question we have here. I answered a couple on the way, like if AI can help create spreadsheets. Yes, ChatGPT is great at creating spreadsheets or Google spreadsheets. Um, If you use the private button, is it safe to upload docs with names, etc. in ChatGPT? And also adding to the question, which AI platform for design? And I said ChatGPT, but if you have any others to add, let us know.
I mean, look, ideally, look, I don't want to say yes
Mhm.
because, you definitely need a paid platform. As Randy pointed out earlier, yes, you need to pay for the platform, whatever one you use. Ideally, what you do is somehow get rid of the names off the document. It's I can't say yes because I could be liable for something, but so in an ideal world, you'd kind of maybe just Tipex out that or put a black liner across it or something and then upload it. Or do a control F and replace all the names with something else. So that you've then got person one, person two, or whatever it is, would be the ideal, I'll say. But it's up to you. If you've got your security settings right and you feel confident, then it's fine. Yeah.
Great. And which AI prompt do you use for home design? I guess I know you upload the photo and probably ask, but is there any other prompts that you use?
You know what? Don't get too complicated with prompts. So I literally would have said something like, um, what lamps can what lamps could I put behind this or next door, and what side tables could I put? Give me some side tables that will go with it. I want them to be a darker color. And also just experiment, because when you do that, if you don't get back what you want, then you could try something different. And after a while, you'll get to understand what works for you as well. But honestly, I sometimes have my team say, I say to them, look, did you not run this through AI? This has got mistakes or this is wrong. And they say to me, well, what prompt did you use? And I said to the AI, tell me if there's any mistakes on this document. It's so simple. So
Mm-hmm.
sometimes they're saying, oh, I think we're making it too complicated. Yeah.
Okay, great. And also, I'll say I use AI for home stuff as well. I think it's always really helpful to have dimensions too, because then they can find stuff that actually fits instead of like guessing the dimensions as well. So you can say like, yeah, a side table in between these dimensions. I found
That's
super
such a good
helpful.
point, Grace. Yeah, that's such a good
Yeah,
point. Yeah.
to get the actual real listing. Okay, great. We have a lot of positive feedback. So I'm trying to get to the actual questions.
I can see one about GCSEs, if I can
Okay.
answer that
Yeah,
one
yeah, yeah.
quickly.
Great.
While you're looking for a question. So I think Danielle, in answer to your question, because a friend of mine does this with for her daughter who's having a GCSEs, she's put all of the information into what I said, like with ChatGPT, you make a folder and you just click on the word source, and she's put all of the study material into that. So she's uploaded it into that. And then you go into a chat, and your daughter can then just ask questions, or you can say to it, can you ask her questions about this topic? And it will ask her questions about a specific topic that she's learning for GCSE. It's absolutely brilliant for learning. It really is. You could probably use Claude to do that. You could probably use Google to do that. But my friend specifically uses ChatGPT, so I know that she's used that. And like I said, source file is kind of the place you add the things you want it to refer to every time you have a chat. So I hope that's helpful. And by all means, just pop on and ask how you do that to ChatGPT, and it'll give it to you. Yeah.
Great. And here's another question. Is there any other AIs recommended for voice typing, or I guess any other AI platforms?
Um, I can't think of the name of it, so that's not very helpful at the moment. There's a new thing out that I've seen advertised. It's like a little box that you actually can put on the back of your phone, and it will record your conversations, and it will record you on calls. So if you wanted a physical device, I think there's a necklace you can get as well. I'm not being very useful. What I might do is find them after the call and give them to you, Grace, so you can like put them up
Perfect.
on the website or something when everyone gets the presentation. That way you've got them. I'm not advocating either because I haven't tried it. I find that for me, Otter just does the job, but like Whisper is my someone recommended to me, is also potentially good. There's quite a few of them out there now that you could try. Um, Speechify is supposed to be quite good, but in terms of cost and what you need, it just depends. It's probably worth trying a few different ones until you find one that you're comfortable with, especially if you're going to use it regularly. I mean, I use mine all the time. Yeah.
Great. Um, a couple more questions. Okay, I'm looking to use AI for writing as I want to start putting my ideas down. Being dyslexic and having hyperstimulation makes it much harder to type. What AI would you recommend so I can put my ideas down in Microsoft Docs?
Um, so I mean, I think it would be that other people may have different opinions, but for me, because I love using Otter, I would just talk all my ideas into that first. Because the problem with AIs is sometimes if you use the AI, even the tech speech to text, you will find that occasionally errors, and it's so frustrating. So Otter's always pretty reliable, and you can just talk and talk and talk and talk at it, and then you can export your transcript into upload it. It doesn't really matter, Claude or ChatGPT, and then you can just explain that you want it to what you want it to do. So if you want it to um make it more linear, which is obviously what I said to you, I struggle with, like, can you put it as an intro? Or so you just explain what you want, and then it will do that for you. And then you can export it ask it to put it into a Word document, and it will do that for you. And then you just download it and you're done. So that would be the way I'd do it. There's probably a less convoluted way somewhere, or there will be soon. So,
Um, Great. And then we have a question about kind of like I believe this must be from a teacher. So the ethics of using AI for students or recommending it to students. What advice would you give them to consider whether they really need AI or is there an alternative?
okay, so when we're talking about writing, I think they're saying don't use it for your full written work.
Mhm.
But it doesn't mean don't use it for ideas and concepts. The problem we have now is I'm not in the education system, so
Mhm.
I don't feel fully warranted to talk about this, but my experience of people I know and their kids and things like that is that it's great for prompting those ideas. Like sometimes when we're dyslexic and we're thinking, oh my goodness, we just freeze. Um, it's good for prompting that. It's good for giving examples, like what would you do, like even test paper examples, what would you do? So you start to get an idea of the responses. So using it around education in a way that's not necessarily the one thing where you're actually doing the writing, but you're testing yourself or I definitely use it. I mean, I wouldn't not use it for that. It's just the actual writing where you're graded and you can't use AI. It does make things more challenging, but there's still exceptional circumstances for that. But as long as the more you can practice, and it's easier to kind of even get into the flow of studying because you've got the AI there to do it with you.
Great. And apparently I misunderstood it actually.
Oh,
She's
okay.
talking about the impact on the environment, but yeah, I guess that's a hard one.
No, I do completely get that.
Mhm.
I do get it with the whole, we're having more and more data centers being built, and the thing is, there's quite a few different schools of thoughts on this, but I do think it is necessary for both businesses and for the AIs to offset their carbon footprints. Absolutely. So, there's certain things we do as a company. There's certain things that um, I don't think. I mean, we'll have to wait and see what happens because it's such a new thing. But ultimately, they should be bringing this in now, especially into the AIs. They need to have some kind of and data centers some kind of policies in place. But we're not in a bad way in the world. We are shifting to that now. So yeah,
Great. Can you upload a plan and get a 3D model of a proposal back instead of using a photo of an existing space, I believe?
you can. And I can't remember if it's Claude. Other people might know if it's Claude because I haven't done it. Is the best one to do this. One of them is really good at doing 3D modeling. It may be it's Claude now. I think it might be. But apologies, I don't. I
Oh,
haven't. It's not something I've done before. But yes, it's you can. Yes.
great. We post.
I've got one about Dragon.
Okay, great.
I'd love to say that I did get Dragon years ago, and I just could not get on with it. So Otter's like been a dream to me. I just
Mhm.
talk, and if you're having a conversation with someone, it will just transcribe the whole thing. But it's not the same as when you talk into like Microsoft Word and then you can edit it afterwards. You would then have to export it and ask AI to put it into Microsoft Word. So, but I never got on with Dragon. Otter just picked the technology is so advanced nowadays, and I haven't tried Dragon recently, so I don't really know how good it is now. Oh yeah, Nano Banana for 3D is great. Yeah, that's the Google one.
Okay, cool. What is one killer application in AI you couldn't live without? And also in the same question, what is your greatest concern?
I would say Otter because that's actually probably one of the first ones I got. It's hard because it would be between that and Grammarly, which aren't even, necessarily AI. They've got AI built into them now, but they weren't necessarily originally AI. But both the recording and checking my spellings, um, would be the ones I'd say. My biggest concern is obviously security, as we spoke about earlier. That's exactly it. Yeah.
Yeah, great. I think those are, oh, maybe just one last question. Are there any free courses for us to improve our understanding of AI, Philippa?
I don't know. I mean, I'm not the sort of person that I do courses sometimes, but I'm the sort of person that I need to be quite tactile with it. And it might be scary, but just open it up, download it, open it up, and then just give yourself an hour to just ask it some questions and play with it. And you'll find then what one you feel more comfortable with. And it's a kind of, you have to learn by doing, I think. I mean, I've talked to you about it. I can't show you some more things. I would have liked to have shown you a few more things, but because of data protection, I can't because I've got quite a lot of information on my AIs. But it's a matter of just testing it yourself and playing with it, and because otherwise everything's conceptual. It's kind of in your head or an idea. But I've given you some things that you could think about. So take a picture of something like in your garden, or and maybe upload it and see if you
Yeah.
can make a new plant some new flowers. What would it look like if we had these flowers here or something? Just play with it. Yeah.
Great. Thank you so much. I think that's a great point to end. I know we're like a little bit over, so thanks so much for everyone for staying on. As I mentioned, we are going to share the slides with everyone, so you will have that, and we'll also have the recording available online. I'm going to try to get it up this afternoon, so whenever you want to, if you want to take some time this weekend to watch it back, yeah. And Philippa's information is in the recording and on the slides. So you'll also have that information as well. And thank you so much, Philippa, for leading us in this session.
Thank
It
you
was
for
really
having me.
engaging, and I think everyone had such a great time. And I know we have a lot of new people who joined actually for this session, which is great. So I will send over some information as well if you're interested in more webinars with the Dyslexia Association of London and other ways to stay in touch.
Really great. Thank you for having me.
Thanks,
Lovely to see you all.
everyone.
Take care.
Take
Bye.
care, everyone. Bye.